Hey everybody.
Hello.
Hopefully everybody having a good Thursday, close to the weekend. Well, that's good news. That's good for some of us. But I was trying to give everybody a chance, but I like to be respectful of people's time. So we're gonna get started. So if you're not sure how you found, whether you're in the Facebook, whether you're in my Facebook group or YouTube or TikTok, but my name is Stephanie. And I own a passenger transportation business here in North Carolina. And tonight we're going to really dive into a demo um, for wholeroute website. And you could ask your questions, but I did this last week, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I was trying when I did the live, I was like, oh, let me share my screen so everybody can see it. And then I was like, oh shoot, we on Facebook Live. So this is a do-over. So you can ask your questions. I just ask everybody to be respectful, either raise your hand or you could put it in, whatever questions you may have. You can put it in the chat. I just say it's no dumb question. So if you have a question, more than likely somebody else is thinking about the same thing or want to ask the same question. So I like to talk about systems and software because I just remember when I did not have systems or software in place for my transportation business. So just a little backstory. When I first started transportation, I solely worked with brokers. So if you follow me, you kind of know, like, I started working with brokers, and I use my personal vehicles. So I'm definitely not the person that is going to tell you how to start your business. Don't use personal cars. Um, use personal cars. Like, I can only give you suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's your business. Like, you have to do what's best for you. But in doing what best for you is best for you, it's all about that research and understanding what the need is in your area. So, for example, if you say, okay, I want to start with my personal car, which that's going to be ambulatory for the most part, unless your personal vehicle is a wheelchair vehicle or stretcher. But let's say, um, you said, I want to start my personal vehicles, but in your marketing research, you kind of see that it may not be so much of a need for ambulatory, but it may be more of a need for wheelchair. And so a lot of times people say, oh, skip wheelchair, skip ambulatory, go straight to wheelchair. It really depends on the need, in my opinion, for where you are starting your business. And I'm not going to say where you are, because just because I'm in North Carolina doesn't mean I can't start or have a business in another state. But it really boils down to doing your research, right? And so when I started, I had a GoDaddy website, and it just was a website, a landing page kind of thing where people, really could see the services that we provided. But I mostly work with brokers. So when I started, I was like, okay, I just want to have, that presence on my, on a website, or that a website would give me. But I mostly work with brokers. I didn't even really focus on private pay until and some people are gonna be mad that I say this, but for me, brokers was not giving me the profit margin that I wanted. So sometimes I say brokers made me broke. And I won't say broke, but it just wasn't a profit margin that I wanted. And I know that it was a service that was needed. So fast forward just a little bit, I got a call. Like I started dabbling into private pay when after like 45 days, 30, 45 days of working with brokers, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I already knew it was reimbursement. I already knew, you had to wait a while. But before that, I had already, got my Medicaid number. You gotta pay this deposit for commercial insurance. You got all this stuff you gotta do at the beginning. And so I'm like, I need to get it flowing. So in my mind, I'm thinking Medicaid clients, working with a broker. But that was because that's all I knew at the time. And so I'm not afraid to say like I didn't know what I thought I knew or needed to know at the beginning. And so fast forward a little bit more, I was like, man, this is not working. Like I got to figure something else out. And so figuring something else out for me meant not putting my business in a box. So if you know me, if you did a consultation, if you took a workshop with me or whatever, I'm gonna always say, do not put your business in a box. And that even could mean down to the name of your business. And so I knew that my business name had transportation in it. And so I wasn't stuck in that box of what people say, I have an NEMT business. I don't have an NEMT business. I have a transportation or a passenger transportation business, and we offer NEMT services. And so NEMT services really could be one facet of one part of your business. You can do student transportation, you can do errand service, you can do concierge service, you know what I'm saying? You can do carrier service for medical supplies and things like that. So it's really about your own business model. And so I wanted to talk about systems and software because at some point in your business, you're going to understand, if you haven't already, understand the importance of having systems in place, whether it's policies and procedures, whether it's a website, whether it's a way that you can receive payments face-to-face, whether you have a processing place, whether it's Square, Stride, whatever you have, your bank, and that's a system, just like your website needs to be. And so for me, I wanted a way where people could view my services, right, and know how much I charge, learn a little bit about me without me having to talk to people. Because with my GoDaddy or even with some other websites, what you'll find is that people still have to call. Like, so somebody might go to my website and then shoot me an email or call us, and we would have to get all the information, take that information, and figure out on Google Maps how many miles that is, and figure out that total cost. Unless you have, some people have like a flat fee up to a certain amount of miles, right? So you still, what I'm saying, there's still some math involved. And so then I would have to call people back, and that required a conversation, because sometimes people are going to say, well, Stephanie, they used to be like, well, that's a little too much. And at the time, I'd be like, well, let me see what we can do. And so it takes up time. And one of the things that's more valuable to me, that I would say one of the most important things, is time. Because your time, you have to include that even when you're thinking about your rates. So we're not really going to dive into rates, but I'm going to touch on it only because when you think about your website, you have to know what you want to charge people. And I'm not talking about what the broker charges. So some people that have sent me their websites to look at, or, we kind of talked about their website. And when I look at their rates are really based on what a broker would charge. And so if you're in my Facebook group, sometimes people put, well, what do you charge for private pay? And so if you haven't done your rates and you already transporting people, you kind of behind. You behind. Only reason why I say that is because your rate should be top priority. Like that should be in your foundation. And so you have to figure out what your rates are, so that way you put it on your website. And so I did things a little bit backward. So I try to tell people so you can really avoid those pitfalls or those hurdles that I might have went through. So in the website demo, I'm going to show you my website, and I'm going to do, I have a link for a demo website that you can see. And so one of the bonuses, and I would say, y'all, like legit, when I first got this when I first got the call about this website, you know how salespeople call you. I was just like, I don't even know how you got my number. Like, how you even know? And I kind of blew it off. I was like, man, I'm just starting, kind of getting into the groove of things. Like, I don't really want to invest the money. But then I went back to people were calling and I'm using time. And so do I want to do I want to give up the time so I can get that time back to do other stuff in my business and bite the bullet and get a website that's really functional for my customers? Because at the end of the day, it's not for me, it's not for us, it's for our customers. And so you'll see on my website where people can go in from start to beginning, from learning about us, what services we provide, to booking a trip, paying for your trip, and then we call you to confirm the trip. So with private pay for people, for the most part, y'all, they pay. If I have relationships with senior living facilities or assisted living, nursing homes, things, or even other medical facilities, then for that, most of the time, you're going to invoice them. The plus I like with my website is that it adds, and I would say just having a great website adds to that legitimacy. Because when you're dealing with transporting people, I don't really care what nobody say. Like that, having a website is a plus. And people can quickly go, even if I'm dealing with a facility, they're gonna say, Stephanie, do y'all have a website I can look at? And so what I don't want is you to go to a GoDaddy website or to a website, I'll say, where it's not really showing what services I provide and it's not inviting to my customer or potential customer. So that's why I decided to bite the bullet and go with wholeroute. And you can make up the website, excuse me, you can have the website how you want it. If you want your pictures, you can have photos of you, your vehicles. On mine, I just chose to use stock pictures. And we went, I was able to choose and say, okay, I want the pictures to look to have, some diversity. And so I got pictures with that. I have my rates on there. And so it's very clear when you come to my website what we do. You can click on about us and it's like a brief description. And I used to be a police officer, so first thing you're gonna see on my website is that the owner was a police officer, because when people think about police, regardless of what's going on with law enforcement, that's a sense of trust. And so I want people to trust us when transporting their loved ones, or even if it's a facility, right? So if y'all want to put stuff in the chat, you can. If you have a website already, like, let me know. If you don't have a website, let me know. Once we finish, and I show you the demo, y'all can, it's no set Q&A. Like, if you want to ask questions while I'm going through it, ask your questions. Like, just raise your hand and I'll stop. But I wanted to also talk about dispatch or scheduling software. So if you are a person that thinks you need dispatch software, you can put me in the chat. If you not sure about what dispatch software I'm talking about, then you can say I'm not sure. But what I think when it comes to scheduling or dispatch software, one of the things that I caution people on is when you're starting and you already have certain expenses up front. Thank you, Victoria and Cherie. I think I'm saying it right. But when you first started, and so I'm just going to use me as an example. I thought I needed dispatch software because I was working, like, you know what I'm saying, transporting people. So I'm thinking, you know, people like, oh, you need to get dispatch software, you need to have, and so I'm like, well, you know, it's just when I started, y'all, it was me and my son. And he was, you know, he drove I had a Toyota Tacoma at the time, and I had a Nissan Altima. That's what we started with. And so I was like, okay, it's just the two of us. Let me kind of dive into and get some demos on what, you know, dispatch software is. And so, you know, I got a demo with a couple of places like Tripmaster and Route Genie. And so then I was like, is that something that I need off gate? And so what I realized was I didn't need it at the beginning. So this is the best way I can explain it. Dispatch software, when you think about scheduling, if you have multiple drivers or yourself, you have drivers, and let's say a portion of your customers come from brokers. So you might work with Motor Care, for example, and MTM, right? Those two brokers you work with, and then another bucket of your customers could be your private pay. So you might have, you know, customers coming in from your website. You may have customers coming in from facilities. And so what the software does is helps you from over scheduling. And so if you have multiple drivers, then you can assign the drivers their trips. And so for me at the beginning, that wasn't a cost that I felt like I needed. And that the way that y'all will learn that is really, you know what I'm saying, making sure that you look at your numbers on a regular basis for your business. Like, you don't want to be like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm making money. Am I making money? Like, I don't know. Like, I know I'm transporting people. I know what, if I work with a broker, I know what the trip is worth, but you got to remember, broker is reimbursement for the most part. And the pay is every 2 weeks, sometimes 30 days, depending on how they work in, it could be 45, 60 days. And so if you have all of these customers and you say, okay, the broker is sending you trips, it's two of y'all, remember, I'm using this example. So you got maybe 3 trips for 9 o'clock where you know all it's impossible for you to take 3 because you only got 2 drivers. So what the scheduling or the dispatch software will do is take all of those trips that you receive from different brokers, and you can set it up and your clients, and it'll put it into the scheduling software. And so that way you don't really have to do the work. And again, that's a system, and you have to figure out where you are in your business is if you need it. Because for me, I didn't feel like we needed it. And so I just used the Google Sheet. So I told you, me and my son when we first started. And so I would take the trips that we got and I would do it weekly. Even when I kept brokers, I did not accept same day trips. I did not accept, if it wasn't 3 days or more, like, and they pushing it with 2 days, I would not accept it because I know I already did our schedule. So I would send my son his trips. I mean, at the time, y'all, he was like early 20s, so I was not trying to tell him trips on Monday for Thursday because he probably wouldn't even, no. So I was like, okay, I would, early in the week, I would say, these are your trips for Monday and Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, sometime I would do the trips for him for the rest of the week for both of us. And I would just do a Google Sheet. And that's how I would keep up with it. So I would have the clients, have the information. I would send him like address, where, you know, where they've been picked up from, where they're going to, and their phone number. So I had cell phones. That's what worked for us. Some people say, well, what do you use to communicate with your drivers? I got cell phones with Spectrum, and they're like $15 a month with no data. You didn't need data because it's only to call to say you're on the way or if you need something or whatever. So cell phones worked for us. Some people use, walkie-talkies, but $15 a month was what worked for us. And so I would just send them the information. As I went further along, y'all, that's when I incorporated policy procedures. Like I had my policies and procedures, but those were like the overall of your business. So in North Carolina, the only way that you can get your Medicaid number is if you have policies and procedures. So did that at the beginning. And so as I went along with brokers, I was getting a lot of no-shows, no-call, no-shows, and most Medicaid brokers don't pay you for that. Like you just taking an L. So I was like, okay, I'm getting way too many. And so I started implementing a process to say, okay, we're gonna call the day before, call when we're on the way. If you don't answer, I'm calling the broker back saying the person not picking up the phone. We're not going. Of course, they don't like that because you're still supposed to go. And so that's when I just slowly started transitioning away from brokers. So when I got my website, I told y'all I had GoDaddy. GoDaddy worked a little bit, you know what I'm saying? It worked so people could see that I was, really in business. And so I received a call from a representative from wholeroute, and I was like, well, you know how you got my number, da, da. And I remember because I was transporting, I had this client, or we had this client, she lived, if you're in North Carolina, or she lived like in the mountains, it's called Boone. And so she was pregnant, but she had to be picked up from Boone, which is like 45 minutes from where I live or where we live to go get her. And so I could negotiate that rate with the broker to pick her up. And I remember I had just dropped her off for her appointment and they called and I was like, man, this sounds like some BS, sound like a scam. No, thank you. And then he called me back like a week later and he was like, let me just talk to you about this website. And I was like, all right, I got time today. Let me hear what you got. And so fast forward, I got the full bundle. So what the full bundle included was a full website, my own website, how I wanted it to look, pictures and all, and it included leads along with a flyer. So the leads, if you're wondering what the leads are, is what they do is they'll do research and they'll send you a list of assisted living, nursing homes, doctors' facilities, dialysis. They send you this spreadsheet. For me, it was 700 and something leads. And they was like, this is the most leads we had done to date, because when I started with them, they was really just kind of getting going. So the leads included, so that kind of helped me because I didn't have to do the Googling and finding where the facilities were. It gave me the name, address, phone number, and some of them had like the contact person, right? Which was great. And so I got the full bundle. It took like a few weeks. Got my website. What sold me on the website, and sometimes I know for me, sometimes you don't know that you need it until somebody tell you need it or you get it. You're like, oh man, where you been all my life? And so when I got the website and he was talking about this trip software, and I was like, well, tell me more about this trip software. Like, explain that part to me. So what wholeroute, what the trip software does is it allows a person to go in, it's attached to Google Maps, put in their address, where they are being picked up from, where they're going to, choose if it's round trip or whatever, and it tells them the exact cost right on the screen. It's all based on my rates. So my rates say $35 for the first 5 miles. So when it's calculating it, and it's more than 5 miles, it's $3 per mile. And it tells you, it calculates all that. Customer looks at it and say, yay or nay. And if they get to pay for it online, and then we receive an email. You can choose if you want your client or the potential customer to click save for later or save for later. I think that's how it's worded, but they can choose that, and then you could turn around and invoice them. But to me, that was like, I didn't want to do all that. So I leave it to where you pay there, and then I receive, we'll receive an email saying you have a trip or somebody has booked a trip with you, gives me everything that the person put in. We, in turn, our process is that we're going to call the customer to confirm everything that they put in. We're going to make sure that is, the schedule and everything works out, and then they pay. And so that helped a whole lot, because remember, if you don't have a website, or you have a website and your website might have the same features as far as, listing your service, listing about us, how much you charge. If they want to contact you, it's an information sheet. Like, your website may have that. If you already have a website, you can also add the trip software to your current website. But I didn't realize until I got a fully functional website how much I needed one, and how much it helped my business as far as me with time, because I didn't have to call people back. So I'm going to show y'all mine. If anybody has any questions, let me know before I'm going to share my screen. And again, y'all can ask your questions as you need to. If you've been on me before, just raise your hand and put the question out there. So let me share my screen. I'm going to show y'all the first one. I think is the sample or the demo. Let's see. Hold on. I had, some nice little tunes playing, and my phone keeps going off. All right. So, yeah. All right. So somebody just let me know in the chat when you can see the screen. I'm gonna put a chat back up. Can y'all see my screen? Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna show y'all mine. This is my website, and I didn't really care about a whole lot of bells and whistles and all that. I just wanted something that was functional for people to go and see what services, where we provide our services, and how much we charge. So you have the option, to put your logo, of course. If you don't have a logo yet, that's okay. But it puts, medical transportation, personal transportation. But you see up here, it has about us. So when somebody clicks on it, it just says, we protect and serve you. I told y'all I was gonna tell you I was a police officer, and that me and my family will bring you and your loved ones to and from your destination with the utmost care, compassion, and professionalism. Thank you for trusting us. And all this is stuff that we kind of came up with as we were going along. Now you have technology, you can use it. So click on this tab, it gives you the area. I'm in Charlotte. I have drivers in Winston-Salem. So these are the areas that we service. And then you can click on rates. I chose pretty much this is a one pager, y'all. Like it's not a whole lot to it. So it has my rates per mile, surcharge, all these. What you want to make sure that you include on your website is the specific instructions on what your charges are for. So if you have a no-show rate, you want to explain to the customer what the no-show rate. If you're just starting and you're not sure about what rates you should charge, then just let me know. I'll cover them. But your you want to make sure that your website is very clear, because the clearer that it is for people, the less they're gonna call and ask questions about, well, what does this mean? And how much you charge to wait? Is there a wait fee? Is there a cancellation fee? Like, so if you put all of that on your website, it makes it very easy for potential clients to understand and say yay or nay. So I have my medical transportation, personal transportation. If you're a client and you want to report an incident, which, most of the time that's going to already be reported. And then, of course, the contact us part. And really, it just has all of the information, how to reach us, email, phone number, where we serve, and all that good stuff. What types of payments we accept, like Visa, MasterCard. I don't accept Cash App. Some people do. It's completely up to you if you want to accept Cash App or Zelle. I'm just not a fan of those, but some people accept. Now, we've had clients that live at like a assisted living, or I don't even want to say assisted living. It's like a senior living facility because they can pretty much move around on their own. So that way you kind of can say, okay, we did like personal transportation, people that wanted to go to grocery stores and stuff like that. And so most of the seniors not going to our website, they would call and be like, Stephanie, we need to go to the grocery store. And then I just started doing like grocery store runs for specific facilities. All right, so I'm gonna show y'all this demo one so I can take you all the way through. Does anybody have any questions so far? Everybody good? All right, so if you look right here, it has the same stuff. The picture is just different. About us, the area, if you have wheelchair, passenger. If you're looking or if you're trying to hire people, you can put that on your website, the contact information. What I really want everybody to see is the requested trip or the trip software piece of it. So I'm going to put in some addresses and I'm just making them up. But remember, I said it's attached to Google. So when a person puts in the address or starts typing, it's going to, I don't know if y'all know, like, if you go to some pages or some websites or you purchase some things, as soon as you start, it's going to put in an address. Or it's going to show you like a list. So I'm just going to start typing and make up something. All right. So you see, I'm just going to choose this one because I choose this one. All right. Oh, hold on, let me refresh, y'all. All right. I had to refresh. I guess I had to sit in too long. So these are like stock pictures. I've seen this picture before. That's how I know it's stock, but stock pictures. And you can choose how you want it to look. So once, if you decide, hey, I want such and such or whatever, I don't like that picture, I want something else, then you can choose the pictures, you can choose the verbiage. If y'all not sure, like if you get to the point where you want a website and you need help with the verbiage, then you can get the help you need to make sure that your verbiage, because I know me, I'm not really good with writing. I'm just not good with it. That's just not my thing. And so I was like, okay, I need help with this writing part of it, or putting information that's inviting to to your clients. All right, so we're gonna go back to the trip software, and I'm just gonna start typing. All right, so we're gonna go with this one. All right. So you'll notice if you start looking at the right on the map, it'll start changing. If a person says, I'm being picked up, but I need to add a stop, then that's what this is for. Sometimes people will add a stop to like Walgreens and they need to pick up prescription, stuff like that. All right, so you see it kind of changed. So now I'm gonna put in where I'm going to. So I'm just gonna choose this address, and you see how it updates to show A and B. So right here is where the person would choose the type of service, if they want wheelchair or ambulatory, but we're gonna go with wheelchair. And then they have the option to choose round trip or one way. You can decide in your pricing for your services, if you say, I charge more for one way, then that's what you add those charges in. If you're gonna charge more, most people do because it's one way. So we're gonna choose round trip. Since we chose wheelchair, then it's foldable or standard. We'll go with standard. And then you choose the date and time. So let's say the person says they need to be picked up on, we're gonna go with September 19th at 9:45 is their appointment. Or pickup time, sorry. All right, so then they need to be picked up on the same day. But let's say they need to be picked up at 12:45. Now, so you see right here, what did it do? Okay. So it's calculated how much it would charge based on my rate for wheelchair being picked up at 9:45, going from this address to this address. And that's how much the person would pay, $265.06. All right, so now it says request now. And so what the person is doing now is putting in all the information. And so remember, I said normally you would have to be on the phone with the person to get all their name and all that good stuff, but no need for that. So I'm gonna put in my name. And then I'll make up a phone number. If they have an alternator, what's important for me is email. Some people will put it in, but if you capture email, then you can use it for so many different things. You can use the email to send the person, like when it's Christmas time, happy holidays kind of email or e-card or something like that. So having somebody's email is really, really, really important. So now we're saying we got one person. If they choose more, remember on my website, I charge additional $10 for those additional passengers, but we're gonna leave it at one. Assistance requirements, and you don't have to put this stuff on your page if you don't want to, but you can have no assistance, door-to-door assistance, or door-through-door. So does everybody know what all of those mean? Of course, what no assistance and door-to-door, but I know some people who's like, well, what is door-through-door? That just means that you are taking the person inside their home and not door-to-door. Door-to-door just kind of means, okay, I drop you off and you can get to your door or whatever. If there's any kind of special requirements, then people can put it here. They may say, okay, person is completely handicapped, they can't walk at all, they're gonna need assistance getting outside or getting into the wheelchair, getting outside to the vehicle, or they may say, well, oh, this address is for the whole apartment building. Give me a call when you're 20 minutes away. You can use it for, you can put in whatever they need you to know about the trip. So that way, when you call them and you can confirm and say, oh, okay, I see that you live in an apartment building. And so I need to make sure that the driver calls you 20 minutes out. Okay, we're just gonna make up some, put some letters in there. So then the person is gonna go to this summary. The summary is a summary. It literally breaks down everything that you need to know about this trip. And you remember I said, pay later. You don't have to have that. If I choose no pay later, then what's gonna happen is gonna ask me for, that person has to put in their credit card number. But we'll leave it at pay later. You have the option for pay insurance. If you're in a state where you can bill insurance, then that's what that would be. You put in the insurance company's name and the policy number. I would definitely suggest that you have some type of, it don't matter about your website, or if you send an invoice, that you have terms and conditions set. So terms and conditions could be like this one was, it says is customer, review the cancellation policy, saying, okay, my business says you need to call us we need a 24-hour notice for cancellation. Or in order to not, even though they pay up front, and let's say they cancel, then okay, you didn't call, so you got to pay this fee, and then you have to refund the $200 and something. But you want to make sure you have terms and conditions, and the more for your website, or if you had a website, then somebody will be able to click and see what your terms and conditions are. So then you hit confirm. Once the person, I don't say you, but once the person hits confirm, you'll receive a message, and you can make this message up. Thank you for your request. We'll respond with confirmation shortly. So that way the person knows, like, okay, I guess my trip booked. I'm not sure if my trip booked, but now I got this message, so I know somebody's gonna call to confirm my trip. And it makes it so much easier, y'all. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It makes, because even for facilities that go to your website, because some of the facilities that you may work with are 100% private pay. So does everybody know the different options or different types of private pay? Because it's private pay is, to me anyway, broken up in different, like a couple of types. So private pay could be, I'm gonna say one or three. So one option for private pay is you work with this facility, whether you have a contract with them or they are, you're listed as a preferred provider. They call you and say, can we just have a conversation? I have some customers that need transportation. You go have your conversation with them, like, oh, okay, great, let's work together. And they'll say, okay, I have approximately, I don't know, 10 to 15 clients that need transportation Monday through Friday to adult daycare. So they call me, Nicole says, okay, we can do that. And so you may say in your own, Nicole may say it for her contract or to cover herself. She may say, okay, man, this is what I'll do. I'm going to invoice you every 2 weeks. You're going to work up a contract, just to kind of go over what it is y'all talked about and what the quote unquote terms and conditions are, right? And so you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna invoice you every 2 weeks. The cutoff would be the week before or the Sunday before, whatever. And and what you say is, I'm going to invoice you. The facility then pays you. So that's one option, right? Second option is what I deal with a lot of is 100% private pay facilities. And so the 100% private pay is this resident or the caregiver for that resident pays their rent to this resident, but also pays the transportation provider. The facility has nothing to do with paying me. So that means either I decide I'm going to make this person, require this person to pay for every trip, or if they say, well, listen, my mom has to go to rehab 3 days a week for the next 4 months. And then you can decide how you want to do it. But like for us, you still have to pay a week ahead. You got to pay a week before. So I'm not going to bill you the week later. I'm going to bill you a week before. If you say it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have to have her picked up to her appointment. Her appointment is at 11 o'clock. We need to pick her back up at 4, for example. Same with dialysis. But the facility won't pay you. That caregiver is going to pay you. We just had one like last week, and it was a one-way. The daughter lived in Georgia or Atlanta. Her mom was here, leaving rehab, going to a senior living facility that we had a partnership with. They called. She paid for the one-way, and driver goes to pick her up and keeps moving. So, and then you also have like student transportation. I don't know how many of y'all do student transportation, but student transportation is another form of private pay, to where a parent will call and say, hey, me and my husband get off at 5:30, but Billy gets out of school at 3:30 and we've used all our time. So we need somebody that can go pick him up after school only. You can bill a week ahead. That tends to work for us. So it's different types of private pay. So when people say, oh man, I want to get into private pay, it still goes back to doing your research to see where the need is. And if school transportation is one of those things, then it's still private pay. You just have to figure out how you want to bill them. And so that's the plus with having a website. And I can tell y'all, everybody that we have worked with, that's the first thing they ask: website and my rates. And so if you don't have a rate sheet, you can say me in the chat. Like, hopefully everybody is, if you pass registering your business, got your EIN, and you may work with brokers, but you haven't figured out what your rate is, not what the broker rate is, what your rate is for your business. That is when, if you decide that you want to work with, you need a website and rate sheet. Okay, I got you. If you decide that you want to do private pay, I don't even think it's just private pay. Like if you're just working with brokers, at some point, you're going to get private clients. You're going to get people, whether you are driving around and you have your vehicle wrapped, people are going to call, and you want to have that website that they can go to. Even if you, let's say you work with brokers, and for example, you decide, like I did, I was like, you know what? I work with MTM, and I'm taking these people, you know what I'm saying, like to the same, to their dialysis 3 days a week. If you're doing that for a broker, people are 9 times out of 10, people won't pay you if their insurance covers it. But people will pay for other other types of trips. And so I had to learn that. It's like, okay, man, I used to be like, well, man, this, I got this client through a broker. There's nothing that says that I can't pitch or talk to that facility that I'm taking people to via the broker. And that's what I did. I stuck because the nurses and stuff like that, the dialysis clinic, they already knew me. They was like, Stephanie, Mrs. Such and such is ready, or Miss Such and such. And I was like, girl, I'm like, let me get my butt out of this car and go talk to these people. And that's all it really was. The only downside, of course, which what I found with dialysis clinics, especially the chain ones, is that a lot of people, it's the best way to say it, like a lot of people are not going, a lot of people are on Medicaid. And so for my state, I can't bill Medicaid at all for transportation. And so if you haven't worked it out, like some dialysis clinics will say, well, I'm trying to read the comments, y'all. Some people will say, some of the facilities say, well, we just have a ton of clients that maybe, you could bill us and we'll pay you directly. And so don't be afraid to talk to facilities that, most of their clients may be Medicaid. Now, some of them, are gonna say, no, we're not willing to do that, but some are. So, so the ones that are in the chat that said they need a website, can y'all give me your email and I can put your email in, or you can send me a direct message with your email and I can reach out to you Friday or Monday, probably Monday, and we could schedule like a 30-minute whatever, and I can go over it with you. Or I can go over the website. You can tell me what you need, and then we can go from there. Patrice, I have wholeroute, but finding that client might book a trip, but I'm not really available. Not available. Do you have access to blackout? So you can. I think you can, Patrice. Let me find out for sure. But send me your email address too, so I can find out for sure. Because I think you can block out. You can do a calendar or put a calendar on here that shows that you're available. Because even when somebody books, like with us, I have the option for, since you already have wholeroute, I have the option for save for later, like letting them pay later, because I don't want to go through the whole motion of you paying and then we're not available to do it, or I can't find another provider that can handle it. And so then I got to go back, give you the money back and all that. That's how I prefer to do it, but I can find out for sure. Nicole said I need to upgrade my website. And so this is what I will say for everybody. And I'm recording this so I know everybody. So what I do is I can help you with your rates. I can help show you how to do your rates. You're gonna have to calculate them. And then if you decide you want to go with wholeroute. So I do know the full bundle is maybe 15 something, and you can split your payments up if you want to. But I would definitely say it's well worth it. And I can't remember how much it is just for the software, but I would definitely reach out to everybody that gives me their email. You said you need a rate sheet. What you using now? Moto. It don't have a name. It just has your phone. Moto G Power. Okay, you have wholeroute. You just need to update your website to add information. Okay. Yeah, if y'all just put y'all can just message me with your email addresses. I think for me, like I would say wholeroute is truly been a lifesaver. Because even though I honestly, I just really wasn't gonna get it because I thought they was, people calling, I thinking they was scamming, and that's how I met. That's how I was able to connect with Jay because I was like, I need to talk to your. First, I asked for other people that use wholeroute, and so then I was able to call them to see like what was the experience. And so they were like, "Oh man, I love it." And so that's when I knew it wasn't a scam. But then to take it a step further, he was like, "Well, you can talk to Jay," and that's how I got to know Jay, and that's how I just started really referring people because I feel like in this industry, you need a great functioning website. And because I saw the benefits for me as a business owner, it made sense to share it and tell other people. So I just started referring people to wholeroute. Like it's been a little while now, but I would definitely say it has given me back a lot of my time. Oh, hey Patrice, that's what's up. All right, yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, you know, I try to do what I can. I try to do my best, you know what I'm saying? Because I know when I first started, nobody was trying to help me. I was like, I just want, I just need some help. I'm willing to pay you for your time. And people were like, it was a CIA. I said, well, damn. You know what I'm saying? Can't we all just get along? But everybody that gave me that email and they want to follow up, I will reach out to you probably Monday. Or I
Hello,
sent,
Stephanie.
who's that? Aaron.
This is Aaron. I got a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you good?
I
Go
was
ahead.
trying to. Okay. How do you, once they pay online for the trip, what do you have it linked to? I mean, how do you get your money?
So it's attached to Stride. So Stride is a payment processing. So you get a Stride account. It's just like PayPal or Square. You can
Oh,
decide
okay.
how often you want your payouts, um, whether you want them every day, weekly, you decide, and it goes directly to your bank account.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a good question. I don't think I mentioned that piece of it. But once you definitely once you set it up and you set up your Stride account, then what happens is you go in just like you set up your Square if you have Square or PayPal. I still have Square, y'all, because people swipe. And so in the in the vans or in the vehicles for people that are, especially like the seniors, I told y'all they're not going to the website. They just call. They're not going to the website. So for those, they pay cash or card, like debit card, and that's when you can swipe with your Square. If you don't have a Square, or if you have QuickBooks also has like a Bluetooth or a way that you can attach, people can pay and it goes straight to your account as well. So you can kind of choose, but you still want to have Stride is good. But I've always had my Square, and so I just use my Square for people. Some people say Cash App. That's why I said I'm not a fan of Cash App. But some people still use Cash App and Zelle. So you can decide which one, you know what I'm saying, that you want to use if you decide to go that route. But I would definitely suggest getting a Square. And I want to say they're free. Like the little small ones, you set up a business account, they don't charge you. Um, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen real quick. Did I miss anybody? If y'all have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The rate piece of it, If you follow me enough, you know I say it's not black and white. It's not a one size fit all with rates. I've seen some people rates that their rates are like $11, $12 each way. And I'm just gonna say you gotta do the math. It's virtually impossible. If me and Shanice when we were on live, and she owns transportation business in Atlanta, and we were just talking about rates, and it's not a one size fit all. If you are working with brokers, again, I'm not saying don't work with brokers, but it's the same concept of you don't want to put all of your eggs in a basket mindset. So with brokers, what happened with me is that I stayed busy for a little while, and then it would be like I would go up, like the roller coaster, you know, tick, 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 and go up, and then it would decline for a couple of weeks, then it would go back up, and I was like, I needed more consistency, and so that's what I didn't really like about the brokers is that now some areas that you live, some areas that people are in, you might stay busy with brokers, but just remember that if a broker is paying you, for example, if they're paying $15, $20 load fees, and some of them like $1.50 or $2 per mile, if they're paying that, just put your business CEO hat on and think that means they probably getting double or triple. And so my mindset is, well, how can I cut out the middleman? Like, how can I get the triple that they get? And so that's where private pay really came in. Most of our clients are students. We do a lot of student transportation, but I'm telling you, private pay, and it's not easy. I don't care what nobody has told y'all. I don't care. I went for like months when I first started with private pay. I went months, and I didn't get no hits. So I'm gonna give y'all, I don't know, I guess is a little snippet of what helped me. When I started going to places, because remember I told you I did the bundle package, so I got all of these leads. I just got a ton of, I mean, when I tell you the spreadsheet was pages, like it was long, like 700 something leads. So I would just kind of pick 5 here, and then I would go to these places. So I did my flyer, and I did this in Canva. I did a trifold flyer, and I did it legit in Canva and had it printed like at FedEx or something. Because again, I told y'all I was on a budget, like I'm frugal as hell. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go in here, and take my flyer and a pen. And I mean, I had a folder, like I had them in a nice folder with my business cards, and I would go in there and talk to them. And I'm like, oh, my name is Stephanie. I own S&S Carrying Transportation, and we offer passenger transportation services in Mecklenburg and Cabarrus. And I just went through all this, and I was like, oh, I mean, I'm talking, I'm rolling. Like I'm giving them, you know what I'm saying? I'm giving them some good information. And people would be like, we don't need passenger transportation. We got vans. And I was like, well, dang. Okay, so now I know, first of all, I talk too much. I need to stop talking. I need to know what their needs are. As a business owner, you have to solve a problem. You got to be figuring out what the needs are. That's the only way you're going to sustain and stay in business. So I was like, all right, so let me fix this thing. And so I went back and I said, talking to the lady, and she's like, well, yeah, we got vans. And I was like, but okay, so how many drivers do you have? And she was like, we got vans, we don't really have drivers right now. I was like, okay. So some people would say we have drivers. So then when they said, okay, we have vans, we have drivers, and I would say, do your drivers provide transportation every day? And they were like, no. Then I say, okay, so what days do y'all provide? Um what days do your drivers provide transportation? And they like, then she would say, he or she would say, well, on Mondays and Wednesdays. So now I'm like, okay, I'm getting the feel for this thing. So the moral of the story is when you go in and introduce yourself, and that's really going to go back to you really being super comfortable with talking to people and selling your business. You got to know what your rates are, because they're going to ask you for them rates and your website. And so I was like, okay, I got her. She's like, oh, 2 days a week. So I was like, well, how do what about your patients that have appointments on those other days? Do y'all provide personal transportation on weekends? And she was like, okay, come on, sit down, let's talk. And so that's how because now I've let him or her tell me what their need is. So now I know how to respond versus if I just go in hard and tell you everything that I offer, and I'm not letting you really tell me what your need is, I'm just telling you what I offer, then sometimes that can shut people down. And so I really had to learn, okay, let me just, say who I am and what service we provide. And then I would say, like, well, tell me about your transportation needs, like, and then they start talking. So then it's like a better dialogue, because I'm saying what we can do or what we can't do. I don't have, and if y'all know me, I don't have wheelchair vans. I never tell people we don't provide wheelchair transportation though. So I don't tell you, because I know I've built relationships with other providers that provide wheelchair. And so if you're in an area, and this is my mindset, it's always collaboration. There's no need for a customer to call me and say, well, I have, my mom, she's in a wheelchair, and I'm just trying to find somebody that can take her to dialysis 3 days a week. I'm not going to be like, well, we don't offer wheelchair transportation. I'm going to take her information and I'm going to let her know that I'll give her a call back. Give her a call back. Before I give her a call back, I've already reached out to the other providers that I know and say, okay, I have a client, they have appointments Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Are you able to add that to your schedule? And 9 times out of 10, that works. If the person can't take it, or if I can't find a provider that can take it, then I call the person and say, unfortunately, we kind of booked with the set trips, for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But just remember, like, when you're going in and talking to these facilities, and you can have these people on social media, YouTube, and say, oh, just reach out to dialysis and hospitals in your area. Yeah, you do. That's definitely good to do, but you don't even know who you're going to talk to. So now you got to think about, like, who am I going to talk to? The last facility that I went to, it was the director of sales. Like, I would have never thought to talk to the director of sales, but I met her at a Chamber of Commerce event, and me and my brother went, and she met my brother first. And she was like, man, I work at a senior living facility. They have multiple locations here in Charlotte. And my brother's like, man, you need to talk to my sister. And I'm like, there she go. You need to talk to her. And so that's how I met her and went to talk to her. And the first thing she asked me was, what's your website? And then she said, well, what's your rates? And so for facilities, what I do, what works for us is, if it's a facility that have multiple facilities, like I'm gonna go talk to this lady at one, but they have multiple locations, I will probably cut my rate only because I'm looking at the bigger picture. Like you got 2, 3 locations. I want all of them. And so in order for me to do that, I would probably say I'm going to do 10, 15% off. If you can guarantee me 50 to 100, however many trips you want to say, 50 trips a month at a minimum. If you can give me 50 trips, then y'all can get this rate. And it's a win-win for both. So sometimes you gotta, I don't say sometimes, most of the time you gotta be willing to be flexible, not too flexible where you're losing money. But if you calculate it and you like, okay, well, I'm guaranteeing, they guaranteeing these 50 trips a month, then that's a win-win for both parties. You know what I'm saying? So you really have to, I would say trial and error, but I definitely say, you know, when you talk to people, make sure that you get an understanding of what they need and then go from there. Anybody else have any questions on the website, software? I know we kind of talked about rates a little bit, but I still have a couple minutes left. If you just joined, if you put your email address in the chat, then I can reach out to you, set up a Zoom. For the people that said they needed a rate sheet or help with rates, I'll reach out to you. I'm gonna reach out to everybody that put their email in the chat. So that way we can go from there. All right, let's see. All right, y'all. If y'all don't have no questions, I'm about to let y'all give y'all. I know I said 7.
Hey, Stephanie, I got a question. How do I add my email to the chat? I like help with rates.
Oh, you see the chat? You see, you got the chat up. Are you on your phone or a computer?
On my phone.
Uh,
It's only 3. Let's see if I'm gonna try something. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the chat now. The little bubble, the little yeah, I see that.
Okay, so then you can say, you can either just put it in the chat or you can send me a direct message in the chat. But either way, if you send it in the chat, I'm just gonna copy and paste everybody's email to a sheet, so that way I won't lose.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you.
No problem. Everybody good on what is required to start private pay? So I know I'm gonna jack your name all up. So to start private pay, that's what we were just talking about. You have to, one, do market research and see where the need is in your area, and you have to have your rates. So if you don't have rates set up yet, then that's the first thing you definitely want to make sure that you work on is getting your rates, not the broker rates, but your rates. And then it's really a matter of marketing. Moto, okay. Did you give me your email address? Moto G phone? It's no name, I'm sorry. Oh, I got your email. Oh, so you said rate sheet, but you also want to know. Oh, okay. I got you. So when I reach out, I'll send everybody an email and you can kind of tell me. Oh, you saying legally. So private pay, the first thing I tell everybody is do your research for your state. State requirements and starting the transportation business are not the same thing. So sometimes people say, okay, I'm in Georgia, what do I need to start? It's no guidelines on private pay. There's no specific guidelines on private pay. It probably is coming, but there's no guidelines. It's up to you. Are you in Greensboro? I used to live in Winston. Okay, Greensboro. It's a ton of facilities. Thomasville especially, because that's a rural area. Like, you probably got some rehab, you probably got some methadone clinics around there. My girlfriend lives in Thomasville. Winston is the same. Like, you have to figure out what you want to offer. So I'm just reading somebody private message out. So if you're in rural areas, then that's a plus. Like, don't trip off of rural areas, but you gotta you gotta be willing to do the research. So before you start and do anything, you have to do the research. If you're not sure, I only have a car and van. That's all you need. I started with a Altima. You don't need. I'm just reading this message. You don't have to have a wheelchair van. You got to know what people need though. So in Thomasville, even in Greensboro, like, if you haven't tried this, this is a company that I work with. I'm putting in the chat. They work on bids and they pay same day. You have to bid on the trip based on your rates. And I always go into their thing, and they always have Greensboro, Winston, Thomasville. It shows me everything for North Carolina. But when you think about private pay, that's all it is researching who needs your services. Once you find that out, then that's really it. Once you find, oh, you're in Burlington. I just met somebody in Burlington. If you send me, Tyrone, send me I'm gonna put my email in the chat for everybody. My insurance agent is here in North Carolina. He writes for the whole state. I can definitely send you his information. If you're in my Facebook group, I did a interview, a lunch and learn, like a couple of months ago with him. So if you're in the Facebook group, you can go back, but it's called Pilgrim Insurance. I'm put that. Pilgrim Insurance. Their office is in Charlotte, but they write for the whole state. Do you need an NPI number? NPI number is free. Get it. It's free. Now, I've worked with some places that they ask me for my NPI number. They don't ask me for nothing else because your NPI number shows all your business information. It's free. Get it. Like, now, some private pay facilities, they're gonna do some real research. Like, so I would definitely say get it. So I look, but I don't see it. I don't know what you mean. All right. But yeah, definitely, if you can get your NPI number. If you're not sure, if you're on this call and you're not sure where to start, if you go to my website, I got a checklist on my website. And it definitely tells you everything. It's a checklist on getting started with your transportation services. And the NPI number is on there. Like, you definitely need to go ahead and get it. I only say get it because it's free. Like, you're not paying any money for it. Apply for it, so at least you have it. I put my website in the chat. But it's I have a checklist on there. If you're struggling, you're not sure, like outside of not the website and stuff. And if you live in North Carolina, I'm doing a fundamentals workshop, all-day workshop, October 14th. But that definitely will cover everything that you need as far as starting your passenger transportation. I think I answered everybody's question. I think I have everybody email Tyrone, make sure you get the information out the chat about the insurance, Pegram Insurance. And I want to say his name is Ryan, but you probably could talk to anybody about getting a quote for commercial insurance. But I think I was answering somebody a question about the legal. It's no checklist. It's no requirements for private pay. But if you're in business, you need to make sure you do certain things. You need to make sure that your drivers are CPR certified. You need to make sure that they did pass certification. You want to make sure that you got policies and procedures for your business, so that way it covers you. Protocols, the 1.5, like, because I have my Medicaid number, I had to have the 1.5 and insurance, commercial insurance, but you also have to have, I also had that 2 million in general liability. And so it's no requirements per se for private pay, because if you go into a contract, for example, with the school system, there's certain things that the school system is going to say, in order for you to transport for us, this is what you need to have done. For my drivers, and I only have 1099s, I require everybody to do a drug test. I have an application that everybody gonna fill out. Everybody getting a background check. It's certain things I'm gonna do. And that's just a 1099, because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm covering my business, but also that your customer and your clients have a experience. Like, you don't want to just be like, okay, I got a van, I'm just gonna transport people because there are no requirements. No, you need to make sure you got certain things done. No, you don't have to have DOT in North Carolina. Only state that I researched that really requires a DOT is New York, and they require a state DOT. But you don't need an MC or DOT number. Only time where it kind of gets a little blurry is when you're crossing state lines. But even we transport people sometimes from South Carolina because Charlotte is right near the border, but they're coming to an appointment in Charlotte. But if you want to transport, like I live in North Carolina, but I want to transport to South Carolina, or if you want to go in another state, you just need to have a foreign entity or set up a business in that state. And that way you're not really, you know what I'm saying? You got a business inside. If it was me, I had a business in South Carolina and North Carolina. So I can transport people that live right at the border, which is like Rock Hill area for South Carolina. And I can transport in North Carolina. For drivers, somebody asked, for drivers that you hire 1099, what insurance do they have to have? The same insurance I got. So I'm gonna tell y'all, because it's not that many of y'all left on here. I require every driver 1099 to do the same thing. I don't cut no corners, y'all, because we transport people. I don't want no trouble. And I don't want to be in the hot seat. Like, I don't want something to happen that I'm not doing the right thing. And so everybody that works with me, they fill out, I did my own application. You have to send me a current picture of you. You have to have a drug test. I do a background check on you. You have to have CPR. You have to have pass certification. And then you need to send me a certificate of insurance for your vehicle that you're going to use, equaling 1.5 million. So I've just found that's why I told y'all earlier, like, I work with other businesses, and most of the people that are 1099s with me, they already have a business. Like, they might already have a carrier business or something, because hiring people as 1099s wasn't working for me, because they don't want to get that insurance. They don't want to get that commercial insurance. And I understand that. So it it's a lot easier for me anyway to work with people that already are in business, and they just, they send me the proof of insurance. I keep everybody stuff in a file, and I've got this checklist. All this stuff is on my website too, but I have this checklist and I check it off as I do it, keep it all in one folder. And that way, if something happens and I need to go back and say, okay, well, this is what I did for this person, but I do the same for everybody. And it don't matter if they don't drive for me no more, I keep them. I keep them in the file cabinet, locked up. But you want to get in the practice of doing the right thing and not cutting corners, and making sure when you hire people or you work with other providers that you're doing the same. I don't care that I know you, like we mad cool. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm doing the drug test. I'm running the background. Like, you're gonna fill out this application. I'm gonna call your previous whoever you put down, and we're gonna go from there. But it's not a bad thing. It's just you gotta remove yourself from it, because you're the business owner, but the business is its own entity. So you want to make sure that your business is covered, that you're doing the right thing, checking your numbers. I got QuickBooks now, but I used to use a profit loss spreadsheet because I need to know, am I making money? Am I doing this thing? Is this thing working? Do I need to do something else? And for me, y'all, I do the same. I'll do something for 2 weeks, and if it's not making money, or if I don't really see no traction, I'm not gonna do it. I just stop doing it. That's just what works for me. So I got another message. How much is QuickBooks? I think it's like $50 a month. But for years I used a profit loss spreadsheet. Like, I, put formulas in the spreadsheet. But the only thing about that, like, you got to keep up with receipts, and that goes back to what we was talking about earlier. Systems. Like, I fought QuickBooks for a long time, y'all. I was like, man, I'm gonna do this myself. And then my tax person account, she was like, Stephanie, you killing me. And so now that I have QuickBooks, I give her access to my QuickBooks, and so she stays on top of it. Like, if my gas, if I'm spending a lot on gas this month, I know that. Going in next month, like, oh man, because gas went up or whatever. So you gotta get in the practice. I don't say you gotta, but you want to get in the practice of looking at those numbers and knowing when you gotta, you might have to pivot or transition to something else. But the only way you'll know that is if you're paying that stuff attention. What's a good gas card? I would say WEX. When I first started, I had Circle K, which is a net 30, and a net 30 is you got to pay the full amount in 30 days. And I was like, man, this is killing me. But that's when I really started building my business credit. And so I was like, I need a credit card. You know what I'm saying? Because that paying the full balance, like, even if I use $700 this month, if I can pay half of that and still help build my credit. Circle K. Everybody don't have a Circle K. So I would definitely say WEX. WEX is good card to have. And with WEX, like, you can also go to certain places and get WEX. If you got to get tires, oil change and stuff, you can go to certain places and get that stuff and use that card. You can get Sam's Club credit card. Sam's Club have gas. You're welcome. Have gas too. You can get Sam's Club card. And Sam's Club is not hard to get a credit card with them. Because you just really gotta go inside, but you gotta take the information, like your Secretary of State and your EIN document. Hopefully I answered everybody's question. I know we went on something else, but I'm gonna reach out to everybody about the website. And then you could tell me what it is you want and we can get you started. And we'll go from there. You're welcome. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Again, I put my email. Did I put my email address? I put my email address. My website is in the chat. You can message me on the through my website too. If y'all have any questions about what we talked about tonight. And if you want the recording, just let me know. Because it's recording, so I can send it to you if you want. Anyways, we about to go. Thank y'all you're welcome. Thank you for joining in. And I got everybody email, so I'll definitely be reaching out to everybody tomorrow and y'all just tell me what day next week you're available. All right. Everybody have a good night. Okay. Victoria, send me, if you got my website, send me an email so I remember. Who wants the recording? Okay. You're welcome. Y'all welcome.